Hi, Tribe Builders. This is Tanya Rooney, and I'm super stoked for you because you get to hear somebody today that's pretty freaking awesome. So I met this guy when I was at Boutique Hotel Con. He's actually hella quiet. He's not standoffish or anything, but he doesn't just like come forward with what he's got. But once he starts coming forward and the information starts leaking out of him, it is absolutely incredible. This guy has a crazy track record that honestly impresses the shit out of me, and it scares me a little bit because I'm pretty sure he's probably still in his 20s. And of course, like he chases things and he just like, I don't know, like no isn't an answer for him, which is really, really fun to be around. Because if you ever want to be motivated in a weird way, you would hang out with a dude like this and just be like, oh, well, I'm behind. I should probably start showing up more because this guy shows up more than anybody I know. So without further ado, Jacobo Hernandez. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. That was quite an intro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just trying to hype it up. But it was totally true. Like I remember seeing you and I'm just like, that guy's not saying very much. And then once you started talking, I'm like, holy crap, this guy has done a lot and you've built a lot of really cool teams. So I'm excited to talk about it today. So can you start out with like what do you got going on? What does your business look like? What do you do?
Yeah, right now I'm working on acquiring commercial Airbnbs, aka boutique hotels. So that's what I've got going on lately. We've been underwriting hundreds and hundreds of deals all across the US, trying to find the right deal. I'm actually going to start a road trip here soon. I'm flying next week and I'm going to be meeting with brokers, just trying to speed things up because it's definitely hard to find the right deal and something that's going to work for both our return metrics, our profile, and of course, our investors.
No, that's super cool. So, what like up till this though, you've had like you don't have a boutique hotel, it sounds like yet. What did you do before? Like, how did you even get to this spot?
Yeah, so if we were going to backtrack to the first thing I was doing, it was I was 22 years old. I'm still in college at this point. I'm a freshman. I'm living in Miami, and I decide to fly to China for a summer internship. And I'm like, holy cow, like everything is being manufactured here. And I was just so amazed by the amount of stuff. It was overwhelming how much stuff was being produced there and the pricing of all this. So I end up coming back and I start researching into like, how can I be doing business with China? And I end up stumbling upon Amazon selling. At that point, it was a super hot industry. It was like the thing to be part of. And started going to meetups, started meeting people that were doing this. And that's when I met one of my mentors who later became my best friend, business partner in some of the Airbnb deals, which I'll get to that in a second on how we got there. But I ended up actually selling wedding gifts. So I'm 22 years old. I hadn't been to a single wedding up to that point, and I ended up scaling to seven figures in less than a year. So it was crazy. I actually had VAs in the Philippines that were doing my schoolwork. So not only were they helping me run my business, they were helping me with my homework so that I could drive after school to my warehouse, send out the inventory, do all this stuff so that I could be trying to juggle both. For me, school wasn't a priority, but my parents had invested a lot into me. So I'm like, I got to graduate and I got to do this for them. But I already had a successful business up to that point that was just growing. But I didn't even know what I was doing. Like I was taking on loans and all this debt just to try and keep growing the business. Cause I don't know if you've familiar with product-based businesses, but they require a lot of cash. So it was a wild ride. And that's when I started looking into real estate because my manufacturers from China started copying my products. I had to liquidate some inventory. I started having all these issues with the business. I got like lots of trouble because I had all this debt that I had taken to scale this business. But now I had all this inventory that I couldn't even sell for half the price because my competitors and my suppliers had completely undercut me and copied all my best-selling products. So that's when I started looking into real estate, or I started looking at, all right, how can I get a secondary income source because I need to pay all this debt. I need to have a secondary source of income. I can't just be relying on the highs and lows of e-commerce. There was too much volatility for me. And that's when I stumbled upon Airbnb. And I saw that I could apply the exact same skills that I had honed during my Amazon days, basically to apply them to Airbnb. That was SEO, listing optimization, split testing, ranking. And it just blew up. And that's how I got into Airbnb. Thanks to me being in real estate, I was able to maintain my lifestyle. I was able to pay off some of the debt. And then eventually, I was able to actually sell that ecom brand and get that first exit. And that's how I got into the Airbnb space. I don't know if you want to go back into that story, if I should just continue into the Airbnb part.
No, go ahead and start talking about the Airbnb stuff.
Right. So Airbnb stuff, started scaling that, and I get a message one day, random message on Airbnb from some investors. I didn't even know who they were, what they wanted, but they wanted to speak to me. They had seen that our properties were occupied like nobody else in the market. We were 90% plus occupied. They always saw that we were at the top of the first page, and they wanted to know how. Like, how are you guys always rank one, position one, and how are you maintaining this? Like, we search for the different guest counts, we search for this city, and like, you guys are always there. Like, what's your secret? Like, we want to do a joint venture with you guys. And at that point, my business partner, he was an 8-figure Amazon seller. He was also my mentor in the Amazon stuff, but he did not want to be a part of this. He's like, I want to focus on my ecom business. Like, I don't want to be doing that. So I go into business with these guys and we do a joint venture. And behind them was actually the ex-chairman of Hilton Hotels. So this guy was one of the main investors. That he had invested millions of dollars into the fund. And basically, I started doing business with them. I was doing deals with them. I was helping them. I transferred over all my SOPs, all my proprietary stuff, all of the systems and processes that I talk about in my book, which we can talk about that later. But basically, we started scaling really quick. We got this huge portfolio, and eventually they acquired my properties. They gave me an exit, and now we find ourselves here today going into a more scalable asset class, which is commercial real estate, and boutique hotels, which is basically just commercial Airbnb. So you can use the same digital marketing principles, software, everything from Airbnb can now be translated into boutique hotels.
A big one. Okay, so when you started doing the Airbnbs, were you buying properties? Were you just hosting for people? Were you arbitraging? Like, what did that look like?
No, we were buying. So we were buying these assets that needed a rehab, but that had the bones for basically a resort type of property. So going back to my ecom days on how we identify products, we use the same principles to identify first the market, but then the right property within that market. So a lot of people might say like, oh, there's this market like South Florida, it's overly saturated. It might be if you're not buying the right property type, like the correct number of bedrooms. So if you look at studio and apartments, they make up probably like 90% of the listing distributions. But when you go above 5 bedrooms and plus, only 4% of all of the listings in that market are 6-bedroom plus, or even less, right? So what we identified was, all right, there's this gap, there's this blue ocean. If we buy 6-bedroom properties that have a pool, that we can add all these amenities, and they're waterfront, they didn't have to be oceanfront. Lakefront worked just as well because people just wanted the views.
Water.
So we identified that this was the right acquisition strategy. After we identified, like, all right, this is the acquisition strategy, we started looking to buy these properties that needed some type of renovation, and we would convert the garages into game rooms. We would convert a master closet into a spa. We would add an infrared sauna, living room. We would add a cinema. We would add a fake beach on the outside, so you're literally lakefront with the beach. We would haul in the sand and do all that. We would add a volleyball court, mini golf, basically add as much stuff as we could, outdoor cinema, jacuzzi. We would add a tiki bar. We would add like as much stuff as we could add here. So it was basically a mini resort for families, friends, and just big groups to travel. And that allowed us to charge $1,000 a night all year round, 90% plus occupancy, and really have incredible returns. We also made sure that we weren't buying, like, we didn't need to be beachfront. Like for big groups, we could buy 15, 20 minutes from the beach, which made the properties a lot cheaper. Instead of paying $2 million here, beachfront, we were paying $700,000 to $800,000 for that, for a property, but we could cash flow just as much, if not more, than those multi-million-dollar beachfront properties. So that our thesis and our investment strategy ended up working out really well.
That's so cool. So, how many, like at one time, how many properties were you managing and what did that look like? Do you have a pretty robust team? Like, that's a lot of messages. Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, since we ended up spending like our all-in basis was around a million or 1.2 million after rehab, furnishing and everything, we weren't focusing on volume because these
Yeah,
properties could do
this quality.
250 to $350,000 each per year in revenue. We didn't need a huge portfolio, and it's also not easy to find six-bedroom properties that have a pool that are lakefront. Like there's not a lot, which that is also great for us because just like we couldn't find them, our competitors also couldn't find it. It was not easy for us. It was not easy for anybody. There was just not the supply. You just couldn't get them. So we were probably acquiring like one property per month and doing one deal a month. We got up to 10 properties, and that was over $10 million assets under management. But these properties were just cash flowing like crazy. As far as the team goes, one of the limitations with Airbnbs or residential Airbnbs is that we were forced to try and buy properties as close to other properties as we could so that we could have some economies of scale and basically leverage the same maintenance guy to drive around. But still, that was a big problem because if we had multiple checkouts in one day, the guy would take maybe 30 minutes to get to the other property if there was traffic, and this added a
Yeah.
lot of complexity. We had to have different pool guys, different people to lawn mowing, like everything just added a huge layer of complexity, and that's why I started
Yeah.
looking into boutique hotels as a much better investment
Yeah,
strategy.
one big property to have to actually get to use those people and whatnot instead of, yeah. I mean, it's funny because we have four active short-term rentals and one midterm, and we have the same thing. Like we couldn't possibly have one cleaner. There's no way because we have a six bedroom and a five bedroom. Those each take the whole entire time between turnouts or like
Yep.
turnovers. Like so physically we could not have only two cleaners. We would have to have three cleaners to catch all of our houses on one day.
It's just a limiting belief. Like a lot of people think like, holy shit, you're buying a hotel. It's like it's much easier to buy a 20, 30 bedroom hotel where that you just have one single pool, that you have one set of cleaners, one maintenance guy, just one single team than having 10 properties spread out. All
Hmm.
of them had a pool. That's 10 pools to manage.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They all have different maintenance and they all have different light bulbs and everything's different because nothing's standardized. So it's way
Hmm.
easier to actually run a hotel. And this is just a self-limiting belief. Once you see it, it's like, wow, like hotels is
Yeah.
just like it's just the name. You're like, oh, you're managing a hotel. It's actually much easier, much more profitable. And then you don't
Hmm.
have the regulations, which we had a problem with one of our assets where short-term rentals were permitted in that specific city, but that specific county had rules that we could only rent for up to 8 guests, no matter the number of bedrooms. Our properties were set up for 16, 18, 20 plus guests, and they were telling us you can only have 8 guests. Now, I only found this out after I had acquired the property and after I was renting it, that now I was forced to go to court, pay a fine, and then now I can only rent. So that cut my profits and my revenue projections by a lot. So that was a big lesson. And now we're seeing this across the board. Markets like San Diego, New York, regulations are only getting tighter all across the board. Like it's just a trend. So that's bringing a lot of the demand back to hotels, which is a big opportunity right now.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that too. Like, I found the same thing out about my properties. I thought it was only for long-term rentals. You could only have a certain amount of people. And then I found out after we'd been running that I'm like, oh, I didn't know. So we've had to steadily like say, okay, now we can only have a dozen people in this house or something. So, it's a smart idea for strategy. Can you tell me what is it? Are you part of any groups? Do you run any groups? Like, what does your community look like? Because you're doing a lot of stuff, and I know that you're the visionary, you're the one hiring, you're doing some of this stuff, but what does it look like for people that are like helping you with stuff like this or guiding you in some of the stuff that you do?
So I guess those are two questions. First, communities. I've always been a huge fan of communities. Ever since I've been in e-commerce, I've seeked out as many communities I could possibly be in. Back in the day, that was the $1 million seller group. Basically, it was a group for seven-figure sellers, and that was huge for me. I made long life friends from there that I still keep in touch. That we hang out. Like some of my best friends are from that group. So basically, huge community for me. I'm part of Entrepreneurs Organization, and I travel 3 times per year with that group. We meet in different cities around the world, and this is a community of 17,000 members all across the world. So, for example, a couple months ago, I flew to Japan, and the Tokyo chapter received me. We went for dinner. They didn't speak a word of English. We were just smiling and drinking and just cheers and drink and just nodding our heads. But it's the most incredible community. Like it's amazing. Like you just get to travel, and anywhere you go, there's people willing to just meet with you, take you out for dinner, and they're all business owners. They're all verified 7 figures plus. I'm part of the Collective Genius, which is a real estate mastermind. Again, verified that you're doing a certain amount so that they let you into this community. And then finally, Blake Daly's community, which that's how we met for boutique hotels. So lots of groups. I'm spending a lot in masterminds, but it's probably the best investment and the best choice I've ever made. So anybody that always asks me, like, is it worth it? It's, of course, you just make one connection, your mindset changes. You're seeing these people that elevate you, and it's like, you can't really quantify how much you make, but it's probably 20 or 30x how much you invest. And you might not see it right away. Like connections I made 4 or 5 years ago, now I'm starting to like see the value down the line. So this is not like, oh, you're going to go to one meetup and you're going to become a millionaire. It's like you're planting these seeds that are growing and it compounds over time. So that's the networking side of things. As far as the team goes, I outsource and I delegate absolutely everything that I can so I can free up as much of my time. So I have an executive assistant and a personal assistant. She does my groceries. She pays my household bills. She manages absolutely anything and everything. She answers my emails. She manages my calendar. Absolutely anything that can be delegated in my life, I do it. I have a maid to take care of like the house stuff so that I can only just be focused on like business, working out, and living my ideal lifestyle. So a big thing for me is life by design. So I don't want to be doing absolutely anything that I don't enjoy. And I specifically plan with intention how to live every area of my life and then delegate everything else. So even if it's because I just assign a dollar value to my time, and anything below that I'm delegating. And what I do is I outsource a lot of talent outside of the US. So I hire a lot from Colombia, I hire from the Philippines, where you can find super high quality work for less than $10 an hour. So I have staff that's working full time for me that does everything from underwriting, acquisitions, design. I have architects, I have absolutely anything, everybody that I need, and all the talent that I need around me, but at a third of the cost from a US employee.
And do you who manages all those employees though? So like are you keeping up with those employees? How are you managing them to ensure
Yeah.
that, because when you don't pay attention, doesn't go.
So I have a couple managers, but the best way to run this is we have everything inside of ClickUp, and we run weekly L10 meetings. So every Monday, I sync up with each area manager, and they sync up with their team, and they send me a report. And basically, we have yearly goals, which then translate into quarterly goals that each area manager sets, and they set that up for their team as well. And then basically every week they have daily actions for that week, and they're telling me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the daily actions that they're taking and the time that it's going to take them to basically hit those quarterly rocks, which are tied to our yearly goals. So managing it like this, and I get weekly reports, plus I can see everything inside of ClickUp. I can see all the projects they're working on, the time that it's taking them. I also have them inside of Hubstaff, which is basically a tool that takes screenshots because we're all remote. So it tracks their hours, it tracks their productivity, and it tracks the time that they're working. So yeah, I'm pretty much staying on top of making sure nothing's slipping through the cracks, because when you're running a team, if you just tell them like work and you're not really setting the vision, you're not really making sure that you're actively managing them, then yeah, you can waste a lot of money pretty quick.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's it's super interesting to hear. I mean, I've been checked into a world like you're talking about before, and you're just making me like not shake, but I'm just like, oh man, I could totally do more. And this is what I'm talking about all the time when I say you have to surround yourself with humans that like doing the stuff that you want to do. Because if you want to have, a huge portfolio. If you want to make seven figures, this is the kind of stuff you have to do. Like you don't really have a choice. And then you surround yourself with people that are doing that and you can just level
Yep.
up like that. And does that sound like something you were doing like by joining these groups? Is you're surrounding yourself with
Yeah.
people?
A quick story on that. So back when I was a member in the $1 Million Seller community, we did a 1 week trip around Croatia in a yacht. And these are all seven-figure members. And we're there one night. We stopped at an island. We're getting a couple of drinks, and one guy asked, "All right, guys, let's talk about what your goals are for the next 2 years. What does that look like?" And I start listening to these guys. And then one guy's like, "Oh, yeah, well, me and my girlfriend are going to buy a private jet. We're doing our pilot license training, and we're going to fly around the world in our private jet." And I'm like, I just like my hair, like even telling you the story, my hair right now, like you can see my hair. Like
Yeah.
I'm just rewinding to that time. And it was like, this guy's probably only 4 years older than me, and he's not any different to me. He's not smarter. He's just like me. He's a regular person that just has big goals, has the faith, and has the mindset. And I'm here looking at my goals, and I just go quiet. I'm like, all right, I need to revise my goals quickly. And one of them was, that's so cool. I'm going to get my pilot license. And I got my pilot license for light sports. So it's just like, you have these conversations, you never know when they have them. It just changes your mindset. It changes your perspective. It's like, why am I not pushing harder? Like, why do I have these small goals when I can be shooting for the stars? Like, why am I stopping here? And if you surround yourself with other people that might be around you, like your neighbors, like they might be thinking small, like you think like, oh, that's fine. Like, but if you surround yourself with all these other individuals, it's like, I need to be doing more. Like I can. And you see that they're doing it. It's like, why? Like he's not different. Like he's got the same skin. Like he looks like me, talks like me. Like why couldn't I be setting bigger goals? So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really great. As long as you're chasing like what you want, getting the motivation from those around you. I mean, it's a really big deal. Like I've got a buddy that always used to say, we don't hang around turkeys, we hang around eagles. Like don't like if that's the spot you want to be in, it's completely fine. Like it's not for everybody, but if you want to soar like an eagle, then you need to hang out with other eagles and you just keep finding, fancier eagles. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Keep leveling up
um
and just finding more and more communities at each stage, right? You're leveling
yeah,
up.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so I hear all of this stuff that you're saying, and now I'm curious, do you have limiting beliefs of any kind?
Limiting beliefs. Yeah, I had
Mm-hmm.
a couple. I had a couple back in the day, like my age. Like I thought like I'm still too young, and I like limiting beliefs about like how much can I really grow at my age, and can I really go to 8 figures, and can I really be raising all this capital, and can I be doing all these big deals? Like is my age a limitation? And that was probably one of the biggest ones.
How'd you get over it?
Just visualization and exercises and coaching. I just pay for coaching now. Like not only communities, but now a big part of what I've been doing this year is just like I see somebody that's doing the stuff that I want to be doing, and I just pay them by the hour. Like how much is it going to cost to get you on a weekly Google Meets or Zoom with me?
Hmm.
And they really help overcome like a lot of my internal limiting beliefs and help me push and overcome those obstacles quicker. So you can take a course, and that's one step, but probably the step above that is coaching, like direct coaching, and that for me has been huge.
Oh, that's awesome. I love, I haven't had a ton of people talk about coaching, even though I know a lot of people use coaches. So I think that's cool. How do you find the coaches that you want to engage with?
Anywhere, anywhere. So two of my coaches have come. Like one, I flew to this event. I saw him speak after the presentation. Go up to him. He hadn't done a single coaching ever, and he's like, "All right, let me think about how we can structure it." We started text messaging. Next week, he gave me a rate, and he's been a coach for a couple months now. Next week we're gonna review our goals together. He's gonna tell me his. I'm gonna tell him mine, and like he'll be pushing me. So it's like you want people that have been there, done that, and then they're gonna push you, and that are gonna show you the path to how you can get there.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that I mean, honestly, it's probably one of the best hacks if you really think about it. It's like, why wouldn't you just go to the person that's doing the thing and see how it goes? So,
Right?
what do you think your superpower is?
Superpower. Um, Probably one of them is hiring and delegating. Another one is digital marketing back from the e-com days, and we've applied it all across to our Airbnb portfolio and now into boutique hotels. Like digital marketing is something I can do really well. Um, and I guess networking is another one. I think I wasn't good at it, but I just forced myself into now becoming a master networker, and I can go anywhere in the world and just meet people, and it became a superpower.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and it's like, it doesn't have to be that, I find a lot of people like to give themselves excuses like, oh, I have ADHD or I have ADD or I'm an introvert or I'm just fill in the damn blank of whatever excuse it is. And you're just like, nah. I like that you don't really use excuses. You're just like, no, I can do this thing. And maybe you still do. I mean, everybody kind
Yeah.
of says, I want to sit on the couch for an extra hour, but it seems like you're like, they don't stop you in ways that they stop a lot of people.
You got to push through the fear. Like my first couple meetups, and I'm always one of the youngest, if not the youngest in the room. And there's these guys that are 40, 50, and multimillionaires. And like I've always started as one of the youngest in the room. So it's like my stomach at first would be like all messed up, and I'm like scared to even talk and like find my voice. But as I got more comfortable, like just you just do it. You push yourself, you do it, and then it can become your superpower. So like it's not like you're born with these abilities, and like everybody has fears. Like you just got to push through them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you just kind of know better at this point. Um, okay, can you tell me, it sounds like you've been in a lot of groups, but I find it to be interesting how people meet people, like it can be some random meeting, like, you're in line somewhere, maybe it's in college. So is there somewhere you have met a friend or advisor like that has still advised you to this day? Like what situation happened?
Yeah, well, coming back to the story of like my mentor, he's one of my best friends now. He was 2 or 3 years older than me. I literally met him through a free meetup. So I just went on meetup.com. I looked for Amazon meetups and stumbled upon it there. So it doesn't always have to be these high level paid communities. Like if you don't have money right now or you don't want to invest in it right now, like just look for some free communities but just do it. Like take action. Um, one of my I met this girl. She's a master in mindset and visualization. And a really cool story that she said was whenever you want something, think about first visualize it, but then think about what's the next step that I can take that's not going to cost me anything and that I can do right now. And she told us a story of her brother who wanted to move into a penthouse but didn't have the money for it. And she told him, what can you do right now to make the like that's not going to cost you anything? Well, you can go and look at those penthouses. He scheduled a couple tours on that Saturday, and the broker told her like, "Hey, we actually have a discount right now because we need to get some occupancy for this new building. It's going to be like half the cost of what it usually is for a year." And it ended up being less than what he was currently paying in rent, and he moved into this penthouse. So, huge lesson from this: like, don't let if you don't you don't need to have all the answer right now, but you just need to take the next step and then the next step and just take it. Like go sit on that car that you want, go and plan that vacation that you want, even if you don't know how you're going to get the means. Like you don't have to have all the answer right now, but just take the next step.
Yeah, that's beautiful and so true. It's such a different perspective to think about a free way to cover what you're looking for because it doesn't cost anything to go and look. It's funny, we live in a place right now that we're next to a lot of really cool mansions in St. Paul, Minnesota, which they're beautiful. They go for a few million a piece and we walk by them all the time and that's just like it's just surrounding ourselves with the places that we want to be connected to for reasons like this that it's like it's free for me to walk around those neighborhoods and look and judge and say I'm gonna live in this one. Of course I don't need a 9 bedroom house. You're kidding? Like I'm married with 0 children and I don't want children and I have no pets, but I still want a 9 bedroom house. That sounds great. So um well, this is awesome. Okay, can you tell me Is there anything this is, I don't even know. This might fall on deaf ears in your way, like as in you probably don't you, maybe you'll say no, but what's something you've been really lazy at in your business?
Lazy in my business. I'm probably lazy for everything else, but not in my business. Or the stuff I'm lazy, then I delegate. That's again the good thing about us visionaries, like anybody who's like a founder, an entrepreneur, we are usually lazy, but then because you're lazy, you find somebody that can do it and you set the vision. So for me, like I'm lazy at probably 90% of things. Like I don't want to be sitting and doing Google Sheets and setting up and like I don't underwrite the deals that we're looking at. I hired somebody for that because again, first, it's not my superpower. Second, I don't enjoy it. And I just want to be reviewing those. So yes, I'm probably lazy at a lot of stuff, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get done. So when you first said it, it's like everything's getting done, but yeah, I'm not doing it myself. So I'm probably lazy at 99% of stuff, but then I find somebody that can do it that's going to be way better than me, and actually do a better job and that actually enjoys it. So for me, a big thing is like focus on your unique ability, things that energize you, that don't drain you, and that you enjoy doing. Like that's where you need to be focusing all your time and energy. And then everything else, you need to be delegating to somebody that their superpower might be Google Sheets. They might be incredible at finance, and like that's their superpower. So put them put them in that seat, and have them thrive in there, and you can thrive at your stuff and be lazy at everything else. It's okay.
That's like the best answer ever because a lot of people are just like I think of some of my hangups and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to do that." So I don't. And you're right. Your superpower is 100% delegating because a lot of people don't do that. They just hang on and they're control freaks. And how do you get over your control? Like you're not a control freak? Like are you like one of the few business owners that doesn't have control freak tendencies?
um it probably wasn't like that at the start, but you just
Uh-huh.
start hiring one person and you start trusting them with some stuff. And like for me, like 80% done is better than 100% done by me. So if even if it's like like if it's getting done and it's not like perfect, but it's still being done by somebody else at 80% there, like that's good enough. You didn't have to do it yourself. So probably letting go of perfectionism is the first step. That would be like the biggest takeaway. And then like it's just something you let go slowly. Like hire one person and just start letting go. Of course, if you hire the wrong person, it's going to be a nightmare and you might not ever want to hire again. But just know that if you hire one person wrong, you're going to learn and hire again. And if it goes bad again, like just keep doing it. When you find these superstars, they can do stuff even better than you, and even actually do stuff that you hadn't even thought about, like proactively, like it's incredible. Like some of the people on my team, it's like they can read my mind, or like they're just further than me, and like they're just they'll manage my social media and they'll do these videos and they'll just make everything so much easier for me. Like when you find that one person and you unlock that, it's like, okay, now I understand. Like you see it with different eyes.
Oh, that's super cool. I love that. I remember being taught one of those lessons as well that somebody had said like 70% is a C. So even a C or a C plus is still better if it means that it got done. Because if something's just on your list as an entrepreneur, and we have tons of our lists are huge. Like we're in charge of making sure everything gets done. So if something's
Hmm.
on your list and not getting done for 6 months, but if it could be done at a C plus, so 70%, or like you said, an 80%, what's getting done more and what's pushing you towards that goal that you need. So like I love that you said that. It's a really good thing to remember. Tell me, what's the best advice someone has given you that you've actually used?
So much, like I just can't even, it's overwhelming to think. Like I've just probably from like reading, like I'm a bookworm. I try and read as much as I can. Last year was 35 books. This year I want to read 50 books. And probably that is the reason why I am or have gotten where I am right now, is because I'm not sure from which book I got this from, but I learned about, maybe it was Tiny Habits, or can't remember the name of the book. It was one on habits, and it talks about the Kaizen principle, the Japanese philosophy of constant improvement and just getting 1% better every day. For me, that was the biggest. Like, it doesn't matter if you just read 2 pages per day, multiply that by 360, you're still going to be reading a couple books a year versus not reading at all because you don't hate reading. Look at the power of compounding of just listening to 5 minutes of a podcast per day, or looking at just watching one single YouTube video, doing 10 push-ups, but just small actions through the power of compounding equal giant leaps. And when you see that, you can basically transform yourself by doing the small things. You don't need to be doing huge things. Like, there's people that January 1st, they're like, all right, I'm going to work out 3 hours per day. And after 2 weeks, they're burnt out. They don't go to the gym again in the whole year. And it's like, why did you do that? Just don't burn yourself out. Do 20 push-ups, but do them daily. Read 10 pages, but read them daily. Do the small habits, but just be consistent. And that for me changed my life. And I've applied it ever since. I've been applying it for a couple of years. And every single year, I'm probably just a new person. Like, you couldn't recognize the person I was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago. I'm probably a different human.
That's really cool. I agree with the small habits. I talk about and preach a lot of habits, and habit stacking is important, like tying a habit. Like, you brush your teeth, well, okay, when you're brushing your teeth, as soon as you're done, you always do 10 push-ups. Whatever the hell it is, you just tie them together, and then you're right, like, all of a sudden you have all these things.
Yep.
Okay, you're a book reader. This is really just a random question that I'm curious about. Does listening to books count as reading books in your life?
I am more a reader, like actual like physical book. I use my
Mhm.
Kindle. But yeah, like whatever works for you. And I listen to a lot of podcasts or YouTube videos as I'm working out. So you can do two things at once. You can be working out at the same time,
Is
put like a
learning.
video, put some gym run and motivate the shit out of yourself. Like, just, it's like you can like everything helps you. And even if it's just 5, 10 minutes a day, like, again, if you're doing it consistently, you're going to see the changes.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, I'm gonna start wrapping it up here. Please tell me, you like wrote a book, an ebook, some kind of book, and please tell me more.
Yeah, so I read a book about all the not only e-commerce strategies that I learned, but how those translated over to our Airbnb success. So we go over all the fundamental pillars about how to identify the right market, the right property, like we said, like all that research we talked about, and then how to do, of course, the right marketing, how to position our properties in the top of the first page, listing optimization, split testing, all the marketing stuff, and then operations. Those are the 4 pillars of success. In operations, we talk about the management, but also revenue management and how to make sure you're making as much profit as you can. And then finally, we discuss why, after maybe you get your feet wet with 1 or 2 properties, then you should probably look into scaling into commercial Airbnbs or boutique hotels. So the name of the book is Short-Term Rental Secrets. You can find it on Amazon. And if you want to download it for free, you can go to freedomvestcapital.com/STR secrets. That's freedomvestcapital.com/STR secrets.
Sweet. I'm gonna put that in the
Show
show
notes.
notes as well, which is super cool. So in that digital download, will it download onto a Kindle or something, or is it just like a PDF?
Kindle. But I might try and do a physical release, but I'm not sure when. But for now, it's going to be Kindle.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, that's great. What is one thing that you're looking for right now that maybe if somebody is, out and about and they see something and they hear this, they could reach out? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, if you have any hotel, motels, any sort of deals that are for sale, distressed, anything, we're buying. If it's in the right market with strong occupancy, if there's tourism, if it's a strong market in the US, reach out to me. We'll buy anything that makes sense.
So any market, doesn't matter if it's a cold market like Wisconsin or a warm
I,
market like Florida.
as long as there's year-round demand and there's strong occupancy, we're buying anywhere. Like, we're looking at a deal in Alaska right now, and like anywhere, like literally anywhere.
Awesome. Okay. And then are you also like flipping houses, properties, or you doing any of that on the side, or you are concentrated and obsessed
All in.
with boutique hotels?
I try and go all in on just one thing, and like I'm right now, it's boutique hotels, and I'm not looking at doing absolutely anything else. Everything's just centered around this vision and this mission that we have.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to watch what the heck happens with you because I was being serious when I introed you that way because that really is the thoughts that I had. That I was like, holy crap, this guy isn't saying anything. And then all of a sudden you start spewing things and people are writing things down and I'm like, holy crap, this guy is like a fountain of things. And it is true. You are young. It makes me I like you should tune in to see what this kid looks like. And I'm sorry I just called you a kid. Like I know you're
You're
still
hitting on
younger
my,
than me
you're
though.
hitting on my self-limiting belief again.
But
See?
it's funny because you do look young, but it doesn't fucking matter. Like you have already lived 3 lifetimes in those short amount of years with all the stuff you've learned within business, and I think that's a really cool thing. I think a lot of people do. They cut themselves off the legs that they're like, well, I need to be 40 to be a CEO of a company, and I need to do this and I need to do that first. And it's like, nope, you're just like, no, I don't actually care. Fuck that. And you just like did all the things. And I think that's a really good lesson for a lot of people. It doesn't matter what the age is. Because I think of my nieces and nephews and I'm like, man, I would love it if they had even a quarter of your motivation of like, no, I'm just going to do this thing because I said I was going to. And I feel like you bring a lot of integrity to your name in a way that you show up when you say you're going to do something. I've watched it happen. I've watched it happen via messages in a group, like all the stuff. So kudos to you for being a fucking badass human. It's the reason that I was excited when I thought of you to have you on. So thanks for
Thank,
spending the time today. I really, really appreciate it.
thank you so much, Tanya. This has been awesome, honestly. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. If this resonated with you in any way, or if you thought of somebody when you were listening to it, please send it to them. Send us a message. Like we love to hear any feedback, so that like any feedback that I get, or if you want to be connected to this man, I'm happy to do so. Oh, last thing, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can just add my social media to the show notes. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. So I'll send you all my social media profiles, and you can just link them on the show notes.
Yeah, and I think your Instagram is JH80 underscore. So
No, it
Jacobo
actually
Hernandez.
changed. I actually changed
Oh,
it just so
perfect.
it's just my first and last name. So yeah,
Jacobo
yep,
Hernandez.
yep, easier,
Sorry,
easier.
Jacobo. Me, okay, just so the people that are listening know, like we had a long conversation about his name because he lives in Colombia. He is Jacobo. He goes by Jacobo and he goes by Jacob.
It just depends on who's trying to pronounce my name. So it changes.
I'll go by whatever, I guess. All right, thanks a lot, Jacobo. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.